Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Jobity, and I am the Brilliance Unveiler, a leadership elevation strategist for women, and host and creator of Limitless Leadership Summit, designed for women ready to break barriers, manifest their dreams, and own their power. I am extremely passionate about women elevating in their professional lives, expanding how they see themselves and the world around them, and evolving so they can shed what no longer serves them and truly shine in their brilliance. Because here's the truth, the possibilities are completely endless when we are in our highest expression and finally take the reins of our lives so we can become the unapologetic, limitless leaders we truly are. Our incredible speaker today is Liana Silver. Welcome, Liana.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Just remember to put it in speaker view here. Okay, so Liana is a transformational coach, a teacher, and author of Feminine Genius and the forthcoming Find Your Way Through the Dark Night of Divorce. Liana guides people through life's darkest times so they can enter their next chapter awake, unfettered, and lit up. For over 23 years, she has maintained a trauma-informed private practice, artfully facilitating retreats and online classes and guiding both groups and individuals through deep transformation. Liana's work integrates her certifications as a master practitioner of transformational NLP, a holistic health coach, yoga teacher, and has been deeply influenced childhood developmental psychology, emotional literacy, compassionate communication, human sexuality, look at many things, body-based meditation, holistic nutrition, and somatic trauma resolutions, as well as her first career as a contemporary dancer, performing in 6 countries in 3 continents over 10 years. Oh my goodness, Liana, so many things, so many hats. So we're going to talk, and she currently lives in Asheville, North Carolina with her son, their cat, Kalila, and her many, many plants. Our theme today with Liana is going to be inner power as sourced from self-kindness versus self-dominance. And Liana, here's where I'm feeling led to go with you.
Mm.
I loved your book, Feminine Genius, and I know it's been a minute, but if you had one big takeaway you wanted anyone reading that book, any woman reading that book to leave with, what would that be?
To trust themselves and to trust their intuition, their feelings, their wants, their desires, their needs, their nudges, their instincts, the communications of mind, body, heart, soul that are coming through them and pointing them, leading them in a direction that is always designed for maximal expansion and learning and growth on their soul path or life path. And so a listening and a trusting of themselves.
What motivated you to write such a deep, profound, transformational book, Liana?
I just had to do it. This isn't exactly what you asked, but I kept seeing, as a result of the work I was doing in classes or retreats or one-on-one, the transformation, the face, the being, the body, the essence of the women I was working with. And I mean, so I could see, you can see the face, you can see someone lit up, and it represents all of that self-trust and embodiment. And I just wanted to have more people have access to it for whomever it resonated, and more of that, more of these women grounded in themselves and lit up and doing what they're here to do.
Yeah, I feel like that's the synergy I have with you because that's my passion as well. Like elevating to being their highest expression, to be doing making the impact they're divinely designed to make. That's my mission and calling. And it's been that. So I totally get what you're saying.
Yes, yes. And thank you for reading the book. I mean, yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, but it's still out there. It's still getting in good hands.
Yes, it's still so much and still so relevant. My goodness. So, Liana, we're going to talk about inner power. When you consider the word power in general and how it relates to women, what comes to mind for you, and how do you see women responding to power?
I think it's helpful to just say, okay, there's outer power or our power in the world, our power with other people, in relationships, in the systems that we navigate. And then there is power in ourselves, our ability to know that we can do what we want to do, or even our relationship with ourselves. Now, I think we can have a really nice, strong, grounded, aligned sense of inner power and still be, like the world's going to do what it's going to do. And there are some ways, of course, where we learn something about power in the world, in our families, in our communities, and we introject that or we internalize that. But my work is really like, what is inner power? Um, I'm not belittling outer power and worldly power. It just happens to be, where I sit at the table is a bit more our relationship with ourselves.
Okay, so talk about what that inner power means and what it looks like to be harnessing that inner power within us.
I'm going to say that there is um, almost like a quality and a quantity to power. And I don't know, we could look at water, and
Mm,
water is incredibly powerful. Sometimes it just comes in the form of a little drip, drip, drip. It's gentle, right? Gentle misting rain. Sometimes it comes in the form of, I was just in Nashville, North Carolina. We got a like once in 1,000 year hurricane. That's some
yeah,
power.
yeah,
There are buildings that float down the river. And
sustain.
right, you see, yeah, yeah, I'm sure you know as well. So that's like how much of this power? um, and then how, what is the quality of it? Because inner power, we can be incredibly ruthless and
Mm,
dominating and mean, have a tremendous amount of power. And so I think it's really important. What is the quality of our power? Are we, using it for uh, to be powerful over or to be powerful with?
absolutely. And it's so interesting that you use the water metaphor, Liana. You don't know this, but I'll be doing a TED Talk in May, and I'll be using water as a metaphor for power.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. This is, yeah, yeah, beautiful.
I love that metaphor because there's so many aspects of water, like you're saying. So you absolutely get that. Like, and so you're saying, how are we expressing ourselves in our power inside? And if we look at water, so many expressions of water, right? Which one are we wielding, kind of thing?
Yeah. No, I don't think water dominates or is kind of the metaphor breaks down, right? But I think that we've got a certain amount of raw energy and power, raw energy. How are we directing it? So maybe let's just see if we can ground it in an example. Um, if I have power in me that says, I want to write a book, it takes some ferocity, it takes some discipline, it takes some listening. And I can direct that power and I can do it in a way where I am restricting myself, I am punishing, I am being mean, I am belittling, a part of me is dominating or squishing another part of me, saying, oh, you can't stop, you're weak, or who do you think you are, right? And so this is power. It might or might not get the book written,
It might
but
sabotage the book.
it might sabotage the book, or it might put out a book that's replicating the idea of squishing a part of yourself, right? And so what I'm interested in is that relationship we have with ourself is an expression of power with. Like this part gets to be with this part. And um, what if there's a different way? I don't have to squish myself. I don't have to conquer myself. I don't have to bust through anything. I can actually listen. I can work with. And the result can probably happen with a lot more joy and pleasure. And I think the result, say in this example, the book, transmits something and transmits permission for someone else to have their version of that kind of power, their version of that kind of inner alignment.
So I want to make sure the women listening understand what you're saying. So we're talking about inner power, and we're talking about, in this example of the book, where inside ourselves, it could be different versions of ourselves. And we could either be in coherence, in alignment with those two aspects, or what, how many aspects, or we could actually be in what we say competition or in friction with those aspects. And if we're operating from that friction aspect, which comes from when we are not self-aware enough to even realize that's what's happening and to work through that, we can either self-sabotage the book or create a book that is not in alignment with what we truly wanted the message to be, maybe, or how it to come across. Am I getting it?
Yeah, I think you are. I think you are. Oh, so I think you really are.
Okay.
There's this idea of kind of like the way to be, a way to be powerful in life. So we get this from culture, we get this from family, from society, which is, I would call it hierarchical, or I would call it dominant. There is an up position and a down position. And right, there is power, but we express it as power over someone or something else. And I think that there's probably a few places in life where that works well, but for a lot, it's such a win-lose. And I just don't think we need to settle for that as humanity. Like there's a way there can be win-win. So then if we take that idea that as an approach to life, we have to dominate something or someone else, or to express power, we have to have power over something or someone else. And then we internalize that. So then we have all these aspects of ourselves. We have our fear, we have our doubt, we have our joy, we have our creativity, we have our tenderness, we have our strength, we have our anger, we have all of these aspects of ourselves. And I think what we want to go for is an inner council, or, inner family, an inner, so I'm calling it inner kindness. So like that I'm relating with these aspects of me. I'm not squishing the fear. I'm not excommunicating the anger, but I'm like, okay, these are parts of me. They're wise. I need to understand why they're here. I need to understand how to work with them, not against them.
Like a balance, that balancing act.
Yeah. Yes. Now, just bear with me. I'll be a little abstract for a second, and then we'll come back to concrete. But I wondered why I chose the word kind, like being kind to ourselves. And it doesn't mean that we just always back down. But I just looked it up, and I realized that the root of the word kind, or kindness, is the same as kin, or like kind, or kindred, or kinfolk. And I think there's really something in the essence that is important to me, which is, if I'm self-kind, I am treating myself as though I am my like kind. And we tend to connect with, we tend to care, we tend to listen to, we tend to be curious about the people in our lives, or hopefully the aspects of ourselves that, we are in. These are our relations. They are parts of ourselves.
Like you said, the family of in it within us.
Exactly.
I'm sure you're familiar with this therapeutic practice called IFS.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you explain what that is because I'm not the expert, but I know about it. Can you explain how that relates to what you're saying? Yeah.
That's right. So I'm certified in something that's very similar. It's called parts work. IFS is a little different, but so just in case someone notices a nuance, that's where it's coming from. IFS stands for Inner Family Systems, and it is this lovely concept that inside you, you've got a family. It's a system. You've got parts of yourself. You are a whole, but you are made up of parts, and that each part of you really has an intention, is working for you, it is working diligent for you, and it has a positive intention for you. And so even something like sleeping through the alarm, even something like self-sabotage, fear,
Anger.
anger, yeah, then if we have the rigor to understand these parts 100% of the time, no exception, always have a positive intention for us,
Mm-hmm.
then we can start to dig a little bit deeper and go, okay, anger, sometimes you mess things up, but I understand your role in my inner family system. I understand what you want from me, what you're trying to do. And then we can stop having to squish anger and then have it come sideways. And we can, I mean, if you don't mind me using anger a bit, and this relates to an exercise I could share later too. So
Mm-hmm.
anger is an awesome one. Anger is not very popular for women.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So the positive intention or the message of anger, and it's going to be different from person to person, but globally, generally, it is, comes, taps us on the shoulder. It says, Natalie, Liana, something you value, something you find precious feels threatened. And 100% of the time, whenever I work with somebody and we do this, like, okay, let's be with this message. We're going to work with this part of ourselves, this part of our inner family. And we go, okay, in this, whatever's going on with you, what is it? So something feels threatened. We get that. What is it in this conversation or fight you had with your partner, or this issue at work, or even wherever? And 100% of the time, the person goes, oh, me. I'm the precious thing that feels threatened. My spirit, my soul, my power, my voice, or something. And so anger, eventually we can be like, okay, how do we work with the threat? Do we set a boundary? Yes, but initially, when we understand the positive intention, anger comes up because it loves us, pointing and saying, even though you may have forgotten and you might be buried under self-doubt and self-loathing or etc., I'm here to remind you there's a part of you, in this case called anger, that thinks you are so deeply valuable and so precious and in need of protecting from threat. And then we can, take this thing that's pretty hard for many of us to deal with and realize how quickly it can connect us to our power, to our regard for ourselves, to being like, that's right. This is not boastful. This is not grandiosity. This is just clear, grounded. I do value myself. I value my voice. I value what I have to say. I value my power. That is true. That is really true.
And I want to claim it. And my anger is telling me, I want to claim that.
Yeah.
But it's coming out as anger right now. That is so, I mean, it's so good. IFS, and I've actually had a therapist work some IFS stuff with me. That's how I'm aware of it. And one of my friends, she's big on it too. And I've heard it's one of the most powerful practices in therapy these days, because it can really like fast forward, you accelerate your healing and your transformation and all that inner work when you understand, especially the younger aspects who are there, who came up, who got birthed because of some trauma, something, understanding the motive, the intent, you said, behind this 4-year-old, 8-year-old, 12-year-old, whatever version of ourselves, give it a name, whatever, you know what I mean? Like that whole process is so, it's so understanding to know, like, this is why I XYZ. Let me try and take an example for myself. So like, I have a part of me that's very protective of myself and could be protective of others. And that protector of me was birthed in some childhood experiences that I can remember very well. And so I understand more why that aspect of me comes up. And because I understand it more, I could, with grace, give her the space, but also let her know everything's okay, kind of thing, like, so that having that conversation, like that kinship with myself, using your language, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so then I'm imagining how much more of your energy and clarity and spirit becomes available because you're not muzzling or muting a little part of you, but you're like, I got you. Of course you would have that. That was some hard stuff you made it through. And the shift in your from, maybe some version of self-dominance to self-kindness, that regard, like suddenly so much more of your power is available to you.
Okay, so talk about the contrast between self-dominance, because we didn't use that language yet, I don't think, Liana. Self-dominance versus self-kindness, the contrast. I know we talked about the
Thank
power
you.
over thing, but
Yeah.
make it clear to the woman listening. Yeah.
Let's just see if I can get a few examples here off the cuff. Um, you've got to write the email. Coming from self-dominance, it could be, I don't think I can. Who am I to think that I should write that? Or um, I'm going to make you stay up till midnight till you get it done. So there's a self-talk or a self-relating that is
Controlling.
restrictive, controlling. Yeah, that is exerting powerful power or fear or control over some other part. Or we could say, I had to write the email, and we'll be like, okay, I'm not feeling it. So what do we need to do? Do we need to take a little walk beforehand? Or are you the kind of person who wants a little reward afterward? We'll have a cup of tea afterward. Or do I need to remind you to just really ground into your heart, into your body? What do you want to say? There's going to be a little resistance because sometimes that happens when you get into a creative project, and
Yeah.
we got this. We got this. So we have a task to do, but our self-talk is different. And this is a little, I don't know how to scientifically track this, but when an email makes you feel good or makes you feel bad,
Oh, absolutely.
transmission of something really important when there isn't. And I'm not even talking about like what's written by AI or not. So it is like that. Let me see if I can give you another example. I need to move my body today. All right, you need to do. You were so lazy yesterday. You need to do 45 minutes, no stopping, and go to that class that you don't like because that's the drill sergeant attitude. Or I need to move my body today. I'm gonna check out that new
Zumba class.
Zumba class. That's right, because it feels good and because I want to keep going just to see what's coming up next. And so the self-talk and the motivation is like you have a good friend along with you as opposed to a drill sergeant.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Drill sergeant versus champion and friend inside of you talking.
That's right.
That's great.
That's right. And I think some people, I think there is a time and a place for a drill sergeant. Arguably, it's not my sphere of influence. And so I think some people wonder if they'll ever get anything done
Mm.
or be motivated or stick to it, right? Right. If an attitude of self-kindness, they'll let themselves off the hook. They'll never be motivated. They'll never get the things done. And I think it's quite the opposite.
So as I'm hearing you talk and I'm thinking of what you're saying, and I think of the self-kindness versus the self-dominance. And I'm sure, especially, being recovering, but going to my past type A, high achiever, feeling like I have to be this much in everything, right? Because or what things I cared about, like I have to be this high in it. Just I don't know any other way, right? So versus you got this. You don't have to. You have to spend. You don't have to spend 20 hours writing that presentation. You know this stuff, Natalie. Or coming at it from not laziness but grace. Not the kindness is sweet and caring and ease and making sure that my full being feels at peace, aligned, as opposed to going through life. So, I don't know. Isn't that what you're saying?
It really is. It really is. Yep. I hear it in your words and I feel it in what you're saying. Yeah.
Because I know the difference in myself when I let go of that aspect that is trying to be perfect or trying to be but not I don't want to say the best. Not I just want to ego the best. It's just that if I'm not the best, I'm terrible kind of thing, right? That's that version of myself when it just makes it feels harder than it has to be versus Nolly, give yourself some slack, girl. Give yourself some, but not from a lazy perspective, but from a you need some slack,
That's right.
literally.
That's right. And, I know your work really is helping women understand limits that don't need to be there internally and externally. And, what is their unique gift to give. And I think it can be hard to hear your gift, claim your gift when it's noisy in there and we're treating ourselves like a drill sergeant would treat us. And that a drill sergeant outside of, whatever, whatever place that it's useful is actually creating more limits.
Ooh, that's good. That's a good point. So that aspect of ourselves that responds from dominance, which could seem like power, is actually creating more limits. I hope you all are hearing what you just said. That's a deep one right there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we conjured that one well.
It's great. It's great. Like imagine if the part of ourselves that was more powerful was the part that flowed with grace, ease, alignment, no hustling, grinding, just going with the flow and letting things work out, knowing that trusting and believing and it's a whole different way to be.
A whole different way to be. And there isn't a lot. Thank you for your voice. There are not a lot of voices saying that this is a way to build a business, to run a life, to make decisions. So I think it's just a lot of courage.
That's the thing. And the courage, the bravery that's required. But Liana, wouldn't you say, and I'm sure you will agree with this, like in the times we're living in right now, 2025, crazy times, don't you think there's almost like, how can we not be courageous to live the life we truly want? Like when we have a choice, we could go with the way things we're told or what our conditioning says or what the world, country, whatever leaders are saying we need to do, be, or we can trust our knowing, our intuition, our inner voice, our purpose, our mission, and to have the courage to act from that place. Why do you think so many women especially get held back because of lack of courage?
I think that so I'm speaking from North America, I'm speaking from Western culture. So, that'll come in a little bit. I think that it has been about 200 or 300 years, only 200 or 300 years, during which a woman can decide, for the most part, how her life will turn out. She can decide whether or not to have children. She can hold a credit card or money or bank card or land in her own name. She can, right? She can have influence over things that are going to have her have a healthy life. We are also living well after reproductive years, living vitally, vibrantly. This is pretty new.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a couple hundred years. This is a couple generations. Before that, we had very little external power, and we had very little say over what was going to happen to our bodies or our lives. It depended on us being pleasing to the family, to usually the patriarch or the man in charge. And so I'm saying all this because we have 5,000 years in, you know, like different cultures and different configurations, but for it's been going on for 5,000 years, built into our DNA that says if you step outside the line, there's no saying what would happen to your body, to your future, to your children. So our cells know this, and it is taking some time, and it takes more than a couple hundred years
to rewrite that scripting in the cells that tell us that's fear-based, that's survival oriented, that say for a woman to do well, she must comply, conform, contort, please, right?
That's right. And I'm not saying it just disappeared either. There are very real consequences if you don't dress right, you don't talk right, you don't express the right emotions, you lose the job, you lose the reputation. Still, there are repercussions. But I
Yeah.
do think it's a little unfair for us to be like, just, you know, you go. Um, be courageous. We just have to realize, whoa, our body, it hasn't been that long until for our bodies to be like, I can take some steps into life and self-determine, and it won't automatically be taken from me. So I want
Yeah.
to just have some compassion for us. It hasn't been that long, and it's still not that, you know, it's still not that
Yeah.
ironclad. So I'm gonna say, like, if you have 1.6 seconds more of courage today than you had yesterday, like
Go
you
girl.
you go girl, you're on the cutting edge, like you're doing it, just keep on, keep on. This is
And
real. And if you ever get you wonder why you get an anxiety or something where, you know, you did they like me at the party? Am I right? It's not vanity. There's part of us that is reaching back 5,000 years and is touching that trauma and touching that fear.
Yeah.
So let's be compassionate even while we take our bold, courageous steps forward.
That's such a great response. And I, it's all true, everything you just said. And I don't know for me, and I grew up in Caribbean culture, which is even in many ways more patriarchal. It's still and still is very patriarchal, quite honestly. Actually, if I lived there right now, I don't know how I'd survive because I wouldn't be liked a lot by a lot of people because of how I come across. I actually had an interview when I wrote my book, It's a Time to Shine Girl 2022. I was there in 2023. Yeah. Had an interview with a journalist on live Zoom on being recorded and broadcasted. And it was a man. And I remember he asked me a question. And in the moment, I was like, oh, there we go. He's hitting me. It was almost like he was saying, like if I was coming from a place of ego with all the stuff I was doing. And I was like, oh my God, he doesn't get what I, and I had to like very in seconds in my brain and being, be calm, be chill, answer with grace. He's not understanding. And just and thank the Lord it came out the right way. But I could have been triggered because it's like, here we go with the backlash for me just coming out here and being a woman, empowering women, and you as a man, whatever, thinking that it's some kind of ego driven, whatever. It's I've had other women from the Caribbean. I had a talk in October, and she came up and she says she works around in an island around men and how she has to fight. I mean, it's harder. It's harder. And to when you are the only one in that room, they make you feel like you're their daughter. It's like that bad, Liana. And so everything you're saying is so true. And I guess back to the courage point, all I can speak for myself is that there are things I do that I am like, I don't know why I do because that part of me is like scared to death. But there's another part that knows with a capital K that I'm supposed to do this XYZ thing, even though I'm scared, even though it's requiring courage, that I have to trust, and that and I didn't, just being real right now, there are women that we are, Liana, you, me, all these speakers, all these, this summit, we are inspiration to others. And there are other people who inspire us. And so some of us are almost like required to step outside the line to be that inspiration and motivation for the others behind or around us, right?
That's right. That's right. Something you said reminded me, I don't know if I wrote it out as clearly in my book, but the
Mm.
definition for intuition, when you know with a capital K, like you just said, it's beautiful. One definition of intuition is direct spiritual insight or direct understanding without the need for conscious reasoning.
And I love what you said about intuition and feminine. Y'all have to get, let me put, y'all have to grab a copy, and it's the audio version of the book, which actually I have the audio version, the audible version as well. And you read it so well. I mean, there's so many gems. I literally was like, how the hell she wrote this book? Like, it's so there's so many gems. And you talk about intuition and the feminine gifts. You talk a lot about feminine gifting, which I'm so passionate about too, Liana. Like what you said before, when we're all noisy inside, our brilliance can't come through. And there's so much brilliance that needs to be out there.
That's right. That's right. And I'm sorry if I'm jumping back, but I'm excited about what you said too. It's just why, you know, why sometimes we're called where it's not easy. And yes, I think we're way showers or permission slip givers or something like that. And I also, I would love for all of us to have much easier, more graceful lives, happier, more alive lives. I'm all for that. And I'm not sure that the point is to make it not hard. I think that when you have a calling or you're called or you're directed, we don't want to make it harder than it has to be, but the difficulty level is not really the point. It's like the truth level. It's the whatever through you, this needs to come through. And hopefully it'll continue to be easier and easier and have the energy and power of synchronicity and grace. But yeah, sorry, says the universe. Sorry, it's a little hard, but you got to do what you got to do. We need you.
That's the thing. And so I think, I guess the point here is for any woman hearing this right now who has that knowing with a capital K about their mission vision, and it requires courage and faith, and your brain is telling you to be safe, know that there's a reason you're being called for what you're called, and just trust in the call, because that's how the Oprahs and the all the Maya Angelou's and these amazing women who have done amazing, still do, Oprah still alive, out here doing the work, because they will call, they have a mission, a platform, a message, a movement, whatever it is, and are inspiration for millions of other women. I'm not saying that's necessarily me, or but I can't speak for Leanne. Leanne is way more famous than I am, but like, you know, even though our journey may not be easy, our message has a mission, and we are that vessel.
There is something that a power that rushes in and rushes through when we align with that. Okay, not everything gets easy peasy, but there still is a rightness. I don't mean morally right. I mean,
Alignment.
alignment, exactly, and a power and a resonance that comes through and is more available when we go, okay, this is mine to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Liana, I know we kind of got off topic a little bit. I think this is all very amazing and great. So I'm loving where we're going with this. But I want to make sure we talk about, because this is the
Yeah.
limitless leader, how our inner power directs the kind of leader we're going to be in our field of influence.
Um, if we are a drill sergeant to ourselves, we are probably relating to the people we influence like that. If we hold all parts of us with regard, we are probably the kind of leader who is creating courses or working for change that is where all can rise.
Hmm.
As
So
with and so without is what I say.
as within, so without. So as we speak to ourselves and be with ourselves inside, that's how we respond to those around us who we are leading.
That's right. That's right. I once heard, it might have been John Lewis, who's an American politician, civil
Oh
rights.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Good trouble, John Lewis.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Think it was either him or because I came in a little late onto the interview. It's either him or someone speaking about working with him. And he said, here's the definition of leader that I want to shout out. I want there to be more leaders like this, a leader who is so in love with the people they serve or the change that they see that people notice. And they're like, oh, he or she loves me, or they want the same thing that I do. I might listen. So it isn't let me hit you over the head or make you afraid or coerce or control you or dominate you into having me lead you or relating to you like you're a lamb and I have to lead you. But let me love you. Let me have so much regard for you that you were like, oh, I can get with that. I'm interested. Um, so I think that real love that isn't ego, is that person was misunderstanding that man.
Yeah.
I think we can really relate when we are like, oh, I see that there's this change that is mine to do, or these people, and when they can do this thing in the world, that is like, I love that. That is where my love shines through. I think we can really relate to that.
Yeah.
So when we have that feeling of like, I can love all these parts of this quirky inner family, um, so then how we're leading inside is how the kind of leader we are in the world. And I have developed an allergy where I cannot work with a coach or a teacher or read a book where I don't feel that they have love or regard for me.
Oh my God. I wouldn't even call it an allergy. I'd call it a repel. I have a repellent.
Yeah, yeah,
Here's where I was going to go. Then I think you can understand why I'm going here. I feel like that again, we're 2025. The challenge right now for men and women actually is that we're seeing a lot of controlling, domineering leadership all around us and causing some serious consequences, some serious negative consequences, a lot of power over leadership. And so it's funny because back to being the vessel, I just gave a talk on Friday, Women's Leadership Conference, and I was talking about power with and all that. And I was like, this is the leadership we need. I could help myself. Like, don't think it's gotta be power over just because you're seeing because but the problem is it's getting, I feel like it's gonna have some of us go, see, that's power. I don't want to do anything to do with that. That's what power looks like. That's what power and leadership is. You know what I mean? It gives a negative connotation to those words and things that are so integral to our lives. What are your thoughts?
yeah. We need more words for the word power is means so many different things. And in a way, power over or power with, that's a good start. So are we talking about situational power? Are we talking about relational power? Are we talking about inner power? Are we talking about systemic power? Like there's a lot of ways that power expresses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really natural to see um, it's different ways of power being shown up where with power over and dominance and go, that is what power is, but that's just power over.
And that's one form of power. I call it the old paradigm of power, quite honestly.
Yeah, it's like cheap. greasy power. I
And
mean,
is it really effective and impactful? I'll say no. I will say maybe in the short term it could look like it, but in the long term it is not.
well, I think this is a line from a movie, but like you get busy living or you get busy dying. Like, which one are you going to do?
Mm.
Yes, it could. I agree with you. It is not more aligned. It is not more life-giving. It is toxic. It's ultimately very destructive. And yet we each have to decide, am I going to get busy replicating power over, or I'm going to get busy replicating, and power with.
Right. Shifting the field.
That's right. I have a colleague who, he talks about this, which is that we can really be in our work, our being and inner work and on our leadership, like actually hold a vibration for it being different, for this kind of courage or this kind of leadership. And that's actually part of the calling. Really important, really
Yeah.
vital.
Leanna, anything else you want to share on this topic of inner power as sourced from self-kindness versus self-dominance?
I think it takes courage to, well, I'm saying what I already said, but I think it's nice to underline it. It takes a specific kind of courage to listen to yourself, hear your calling, uh, have respect for the size of the calling. We don't all need to build an empire.
All right, 1,000 books.
No, I don't recommend writing a book. If you, unless you must, don't.
Because I want to talk about just your upcoming book, and I don't know how far you are in the process, but do you want to share anything about that book?
Sure, yes. So in Feminine Genius, there's a bit of a chapter about part of the energy of the feminine is change and cycles, and we have some down cycles. And so there's a section in there that are on like dark nights of the soul.
Yes, yes, yes. A tough one to go through, but very
It's
real.
it's very real. And so this second book takes that section and makes it into a whole book, and then really says, wow, often people go into a dark night of the soul for many reasons, but a lot of the times it is through a relationship rupture or a divorce. And so it's not a book about getting, the ins and outs of divorce. It's being able to know that going through some very difficult dark night of the soul times is not a failing. In fact, it's a very specific rite of passage. And there are some, there's a kind of transformation that only comes through this. And there's some attitudes, mindsets, some skills, some tools that make it a lot more fruitful than just painful.
Mm.
And a lot of the heart of the book, I would say, really is about our self-kindness, our relationship to ourselves. Because sometimes when like our lives or an aspect of our lives fall apart, a piece of it can really point to what is not tenable, what is not sustainable. And sometimes it can be like, no, I will not stand for you treating yourself this way anymore.
Mm.
Dismantle this, or strip
Mm.
away this or this, so you can see, or for you to claim your power, or to trust yourself. So it's like sometimes there's easy, comfortable transformation, and this is definitely not the easy, comfortable kind, but there are very few tools, very few conversations and tools. So I get called to some strange places, and this is
So and you were called to write a book about to go deeper in that part of the book that was obviously like I was like, whoa, whoa, you know, in Feminine Genius, but now you actually called to write more on that topic of the dark night of the soul, which is Pima Children has that book. What is it called? I can't remember it right now, but it's a short book, but it's kind of like around that topic. And I know when you're going through something, you need I've been through my own dark nights of the soul. You need you need anchors, fulcrums, whatever you want to call them, and to know that you're not alone. And I know in my darkest times, when I've read other books of people, listen, who have been through and gone on the other side of that, I have hope. I have inspiration. I might have even tools I can use from that, from what they, yes.
Especially a dark night of the soul or just something that's very difficult. It's so disorienting because it's changing your identity up is down. The book is called When Things Fall Apart, right? Classic.
Oh, that's the
Everybody
one.
needs to have it on
Thank you.
their bedside table. And
Yeah.
we're so disoriented that when someone says, you feel lost, yes, 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 but this is where you are. You are in this process. You are in this cycle. You are in this phase. And you can expect this in the next phase. And this tool will work in this phase, but it's not going to work in that phase. And this is happening as a ripening and as a maturing. There's not a failing. I mean, there might be some stuff to sort out why things fell apart. But this is like we don't say we say dark night of the soul. It's really a soul
It's the
maturation
journey. Yeah.
journey. Yeah.
When will your book come to being, Liana? Do you
Please,
know?
please do not hold your breath. We need to be breathing for a while. I think it will be sometime in 2026. These things take a while when you do, traditional
And
public.
y'all, she goes deep anyway, y'all. So can you imagine the depth she will go to? Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
So,
can't wait to see it.
yeah, thank you, thank you.
All right, you ready for fire round?
Let's do. Let's do.
Do you have a word theme of the year? And if so, what is it?
Last year it was rest and trust. I didn't do my year very well. We'll go with last year's rest and
I love trust. Yeah. Unrest. What's one limit you've once believed in that you've now completely shattered?
that a limit that I needed to be all ducks in a row, all perfect and the bows tied for I don't know, to be legitimate or to have something to say or have something to offer. And now I'm like, oh, we're never going to get there. We just need tools, along the way. That's all we're doing. Yeah.
Get that one. In 1 to 3 words, how would you describe your leadership presence, Liana?
Uh, Deep, kind,
Mm.
soulful.
Mm. Okay, so what's a favorite song or quote that you'd like to share that has been instrumental in your life?
Oh, I just heard a recent one. Someone said it was a quote by Rumi. It doesn't sound very Rumi-esque to me, but the quote is, live your life as if everything is rigged in your favor.
It doesn't sound like everything is rigged. I like it. Okay, who do you see as a limitless leader in the public eye, past or present?
But one,
Say how many you need. I don't know.
Michelle Obama,
Oh.
Maya Angelou, Frida Kahlo.
I mean, it's the author of Feminine Genius, so she's gonna know a lot of. I mean, yes, I get it. I get it. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
what do you pick? What? I love it. I love it. All those amazing women. If you could gift every woman one belief about herself, what would it be?
Uh, that it is healing, it is enlivening, it is safe to be around me. For the most part, that's true. We just don't realize it. But that for us to know that our essence is an invitation around us, people feel safe, they feel seen, they feel healing, they feel joy. And to know that that's just what we put out, that's just how we be.
I love it. Okay, last question. What is one practice you do routinely to help you embody your limitlessness?
I dance.
Gotten that a few times. I keep saying I got to do that more often. It's funny. I had a circle workshop last night with some women, and one aspect of it was like, let's move, and I was like, let's dance, and I'm like, I don't know really how to dance, but I started just doing dumb little cutesy things. And I'm like, I need to do this more often.
Mm. Mhm. Now, this might not fit because sometimes just being silly or whatever is the right thing, but because I was a trained dancer and
That's right.
because like I spent so many time trying to like look right, so that whenever I fall into that, I just am like, just do what would turn myself on. Like that's just
Yeah,
the dance. So
exactly.
yeah, there.
I love that. I forgot that's right. That makes so much sense. Oh my gosh. Okay, tell us about your free gift.
Oh, okay. So it's really in line with what we were talking about. Can I swear or do I not swear? Is this the clean version or the okay? It's a it's a guided exercise that I'll walk you through. It's called Stop Talking Shit to Yourself. And it, in a way, will guide you very step by step, almost like a call and response with yourself. You can do it writing, you can do it speaking. And it's a way to relate, pick one of the parts of yourselves we were talking about, hard one, easy one for you, whatever. And like you could pick your inner drill sergeant, and it's a way for you to understand its positive intention for you, to understand its message for you, or to transform the way so that it can be supporting you, loving you, empowering you as opposed to squishing you.
Mm,
So I think the tagline is to help get your inner cheerleader louder than your inner tyrant. So
mm.
pretty small and bite size, but I think it really starts to shift the inner dominance to inner kindness, shift our self-talk and shift the way that we relate to ourselves.
That's amazing. I think that's an amazing gift and an amazing reframe that we all need because, again, a lot of women tuning in, we have been conditioned to be more drill sergeanty to ourselves. And yeah, it's not necessarily the best way to approach ourselves and our lives. So yes, love it. Liana, it was a pleasure and a privilege having you as one of my speakers in Limitless Leadership Summit.
Well, it's really good to connect with you. Thank you for what you're doing and feel honored to be here with you all.
Bye, everyone.